Hello, my name is Svilena MIHAYLOVA. I work as a Chief Assistant Professor at the University of Economics Varna in Bulgaria, and this is my presentation for the International Balkan and Near Eastern Congress on Economics, Business and Management. The topic of my research is wage disparities between districts in Bulgaria, the role of foreign affiliates versus local firms. First, I'm going to discuss the topicality of the research. Second, I will outline the aim of the paper as well as the data and methodology used. Then the results will be presented, and in the end, conclusions and some policy implications will be outlined. Widening income disparities have emerged as an important topic of research interest and public policy concern in recent years. Focusing on income disparities is especially important for the Bulgarian economy, as in addition to being the member state with the lowest GDP per capita in the European Union, it also has the most uneven income distribution since 2016. According to Eurostat data, in 2022, the Gini coefficient in Bulgaria was 38.4, while the EU average was 29.6. What is more, as we can see in figure 2, in the same year, the ratio of the total income received by the top quintile to that received by the lowest quintile was 7.3 in Bulgaria against 4.7 in the EU. A key dimension of income inequality in Bulgaria is related to the significant regional disparities in the country. Leading in terms of economic development is the southwest region, which accounts for around 1/3 of the labor force, around half of the gross value added, and 60% of the inward foreign direct investment stock in the country. On the contrary, the least economically developed region, the northwest, has the lowest share in the labor force, around 9%, the lowest share in the gross value added, around 6.7%, and only 2.3% in the inward FDI stock. The difference in the standard of living between the two regions is substantial, with GDP per capita in the southwest region being 2.5 times higher than in the northwest. Given the significant income disparities in the Bulgarian economy and the threat they might pose to both its social cohesion and future growth, it is worth studying their regional dimensions in more detail. The aim of the paper is to explore wage differences and wage inequality between the districts in Bulgaria in the period 2008-2021, comparing the role of foreign-owned and local firms. We use annual data on average wages and employment across the 28 districts in Bulgaria. The data refers to the non-financial sector and distinguishes between two types of enterprises: enterprises with foreign ownership exceeding 10%, with what we are going to call foreign affiliates, and enterprises without foreign ownership or with foreign ownership below 10%, what we are going to call local firms. To provide an overall picture of the wage differences between districts, first the annual gross district level wages for both types of firms will be compared in terms of their average levels, the ratio between them, as well as their average annual growth rates during the analyzed period. In order to explore the wage dispersion across districts for foreign affiliates and local firms, we also calculate the ratio between the highest and the lowest district level wage for the two types of firms. To estimate between district wage inequality for all enterprises as well as separately for the two types of firms, we use the between group component of the Taylor's T statistic, as this approach allows not only to trace the evolution of between district wage inequality over time, but also to review the changing contribution of each district. Wage inequality between districts depends on each district's employment share and relative wage. For example, a rise in between district wage inequality can be a result of high wage districts expanding their employment share or experiencing an increase in wages relative to the mean, or of low wage districts either increasing their employment share or experiencing falling wages relative to the mean. And now let's move to the discussion of the results. The data shows that the average wage in foreign affiliates exceeds the average wage in local firms in all districts. The largest differences are found in the district of Sofia and in the capital, Sofia, where the wages paid by foreign affiliates are on average twice as high as in local firms. The smallest differences are found in Vratsa and Kyustendil, where foreign companies pay only 10% more than their local counterparts. Figure 2 also shows that in both types of firms, the highest average wage during the analyzed period is in the capital, Sofia. This is not surprising given the fact that the capital ranks first in terms of GDP per capita, exceeding more than twice the country average. Moreover, key institutions, businesses, infrastructure, 1/3 of the employment, as well as 50% of inward FDI in the country is concentrated there. Next, in terms of average wages in foreign affiliates, are the districts of Sofia, followed by Varna, Burgas, and Stara Zagora. This is also expected because these are economically developed districts, which are the most attractive for foreign investors after the capital city. The lowest average wage in foreign firms is in Kyustendil, followed by Blagoevgrad and Yambol. The analysis of the dynamics of wages shows that in 19 out of the 28 districts, local firms outpace foreign affiliates in terms of wages average annual growth rate during the analyzed period. What is more, in 4 out of the 5 highest wage districts, local companies' wages increase at a slower rate compared to the corresponding country average. In the same time, in 8 of the lowest wage districts, the growth rate of wages in foreign firms exceed the country average wage in this type of firms. This suggests a possible decrease in foreign firms' wage dispersion across districts. To account for such a trend and to make a comparison with local companies, we calculate the ratio between the maximum and the minimum district level wage for the two types of firms. Table 2 suggests that foreign firms' wage dispersion across districts is higher than in local firms, but it indeed tends to decrease during the analyzed period. On the contrary, local firms' wage dispersion across districts experienced a slight upward trend. To explore the evolution of between-district wage inequality in more detail, now we present the results from the calculation of the tail T statistic. As seen in figure 4, the tail T statistics for all non-financial enterprises shows an upward trend, this is the black line, suggesting rising overall between-district wage inequality. Distinguishing between the two types of firms shows that in the case of foreign firms, between-district wage inequality is indeed higher compared to local ones, but it tends to decrease over time. The opposite trend is observed with regard to the tail T statistic for local firms, suggesting that they have an increasing role for the upward trend in the country's between-district wage inequality. The next figure, figure 5, presents the contribution of each district to wage inequality, considering all non-financial enterprises. The capital city has the largest positive contribution, which is not surprising, since 1/3 of the employees in the non-financial sector work there and receive wages which exceed with 40% the country average. Moreover, the contribution of the capital city, marked in blue and located above the zero line, increases over time, mostly due to a rise in its relative employment share. The capital's weight in shaping between-district wage inequality is, of course, related to its employment structure. Sofia city boasts a concentration of the highest paid positions such as managers, professionals, technicians and associate professionals. It also has the largest shares of employees involved in the highest paid economic activities like information and communication, as well as professional, scientific and technical activities. The majority of the other districts are negative contributors to between-district wage inequality and are therefore located below the zero line. And this is because their wages are below the national average during the entire period. Among them, Plovdiv has the largest weight, which is due to the fact that its average wage is around 84% of the country average, and it also has the second largest employment share after the capital city, around 10% on average. Next, in terms of its negative contribution, is Blagoevgrad. This is explained by the fact that, on the one hand, the average wage in Blagoevgrad is one of the lowest in the country, around 65 5% of the national average, and on the other hand, the district ranks 6th in terms of its average employment share. The positions of these two districts, Plovdiv and Blagoevgrad, again reflect their employment shares. In both of them, the largest employment shares belong to relatively low-paid occupational groups like plant and machine operators and assemblers, followed by those with elementary occupations. The sectoral composition of the employment shows that in both districts around 1/3 of the employees is concentrated in manufacturing, where wages are below the country average. Third, in terms of its negative contribution, is the district of Burgas, which is the 4th largest district in Bulgaria. Its position is due to the combination of wages, which are around 85% of the country average, and employment share, which is around 5% on average for the analyzed period. As in the other districts, the relative position of Burgas reflects the structure of its employment. Almost half of the district's employment is in trade, manufacturing, accommodation, and food service activities, where the average wage level is below the national average. It is also worth noting that while the contributions of Plovdiv and Blagoevgrad are relatively stable, the role of Burgas for increasing TLST statistic has become much more pronounced over time, which is due to the district's continuously falling relative wage. Next, we focus on the between district wage inequality among foreign-owned firms' employees. Figure 6 shows that during the entire period, the foreign affiliates in Sofia, the capital, have the largest positive contribution to the TLST statistic. On the one hand, this is due to the fact that these companies offer the highest wages, exceeding with more than 33% the country average wage level of foreign firms. On the other hand, they account for the largest average employment share, namely 46% of the total number of people employed in foreign firms in the country. In the same time, the contribution of the foreign affiliates in the capital city tends to decrease, and this is entirely due to the shrinkage of the wage gap between them and the country average wage in this type of firms. The largest negative contributors to foreign firms between district wage inequality belong to the districts of Plovdiv, Blagoevgrad and Ruse. We can also see on the figure that the weights of Plovdiv and Ruse are relatively stable, while the weight of Blagoevgrad decreases substantially over time. And this is due to the district's significant drop in the share of employees in foreign affiliates, and in this way the district contributes to the fall in foreign firms between district wage inequality. Last, we present the contributions of the different districts to the evolution of between district wage inequality in the case of local firms. As expected, the capital, Sofia, has the largest contribution, which is due to the fact that compared to other districts, its local firms have the largest employment share as well as the highest average wage, exceeding with around 28% the country average wage level of local companies. Moreover, the capital's contribution experiences an upward trend, as we can see on the figure. This is a result of the expanding employment share of the capital's local firms as well as their rising relative wage. The largest negative contributors to between district wage inequality among local firms' employees are Blagoevgrad, Plovdiv and Burgas. Blagoevgrad's contribution rises over time, which is due to a slight increase in the employment share of the district's local firms, as well as a fall in their relative wage. In the case of Plovdiv, its contribution experiences an upward trend after 2016, due to an expansion of local firms' employment share and a fall in their relative wage. The contribution of Burgas increases during the entire period, and this is a result of the decreasing relative wages in the district's local companies. Based on the analysis, the following conclusions can be made. First, foreign-owned firms pay higher wages than their local counterparts in all districts. Second, in terms of wages average annual growth rate, local firms outpace foreign affiliates in the majority of the districts. Third, with regard to between district wage inequality, there is an overall upward trend when all non-financial enterprises are considered. When distinguishing between foreign and local firms, results show that in the case of foreign companies, between district wage inequality is higher but tends to decrease over time. This is mostly due to the narrowing gap between the average wage of foreign firms in the capital and the corresponding country average. Conversely, in the case of local firms, an upward trend in between-district wage inequality is observed, with the capital city being the largest positive contributor to this trend. We can also outline some policy implications. For between-district wage inequality to be reduced, there is a clear need for enhancing the economic development of the districts with below-average wages. The largest share of employees in these districts is usually involved in manufacturing, where wages are lower than the country average. Although the employment share of low-tech manufacturing in Bulgaria has decreased with 10 percentage points during the analyzed period, it still employs 50% of the workers in the sector, which is way above the EU average. Therefore, it is important to promote further manufacturing enterprises' technological modernization and expand the share of high and medium high-tech manufacturing in the districts with below-average wages. Additionally, further efforts are needed to enhance the foreign investment attractiveness of lagging regions, such as improving their transport infrastructure and investing in human capital. Thank you for your attention.